In Chapter 4 of his book, Reading the Bible with the Founding Fathers, Daniel Dreisbach focuses on understanding not only when the Founding Fathers used the Bible in their writings and their speeches, but also looks into why they used it. Dreisbach claims on page 71 that although generally regarded as a sacred text, not all uses of the Bible by the founding generation were for strictly spiritual ends. Indeed, Scripture was frequently employed for literary, rhetorical, and political purposes, in addition to the theological and spiritual uses, end quote. Dreisbach then gives examples of the founding uses and quotes the Bible in each of these previously mentioned contexts. He quotes the Founding Fathers many times, founding fathers such as George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, and even Thomas Paine, who was a deist who recognized the value of the Bible. Dreisbach points out that the language of the Bible was used even by unbelievers because it was well known at the time. Dreisbach also revisits an entire speech by Patrick Henry, in which Dreisbach points out every biblical reference or allusion or turn of phrase that Patrick Henry utilized. Dreisbach also discusses how the Bible influenced other founding documents, such as the Declaration of Independence and the Constitution. Other scholars, such as Gregory Clauscher, also discuss the interconnectedness of how the founders interconnected the Constitution with the Bible, when he stated in his article, quote, "The Bible plays a central normative role in the life of the Church, while the Constitution provides a normative framework for American law and politics. These texts ground the ongoing lives of both the Church and the American political community." And what Clauscher means by this text is that the Constitution was very much based off of the Bible in the way that it would be utilized by the people who followed it. In the same way that the Bible was a framework for Christians, the Constitution became a framework for law. I would now like to take an opportunity to read a passage from James McClellan's Liberty, Order, and Justice. This passage will be coming from the bottom of page 12, which states, "American political leaders were hardly ignorant or contemptuous of the past. The framers respected the wisdom of their ancestors, especially their religious learning. They had been reared by King James's version of the Bible, and at least half of them, being Episcopalians, were well acquainted with the Book of Common Prayer." And one of Dreisbach's primary points that he discusses in one of his other articles is how academia does not focus on the Founding Fathers and their references. He states that, again, comparatively little scholarship focuses on the Bible's place in and influence on the political thought and discourse of the era, even though there is a consensus that, among the founding generation, it was a prominent and frequently cited source. That comes from page 72 of Dreisbach's book. What I drew from this reading is that many of the Founding Fathers truly were Christian and valued the Bible's teachings. However, most of the Founding Fathers, including the non-Christian ones, also recognized the universal quality that the Bible had at the time and therefore used it for their own personal means, whether it be for good or for ill. But one thing is for certain: we do not understand the entirety of the Founding Fathers' faith. However, we must continue to read into the contexts of what they said and into the contexts of which Bible verses they were quoting at which time in order to understand why they used them and whether they were using them purely for personal means or also because they truly believed in the values of the Bible.